So we had, for those of you that are joining us online via the World Wide Web, we just had our breakout sessions, and we're now coming back to regroup and reconvene as a group all together. And we are going to report back some of the discussions that came out of those groups with the idea around the rights of Mother Earth, the rights of nature, this campaign, what that would look like in our communities, the reality behind the situation of making this discussion happen at home, who this discussion would happen with, our tribal councils, our organizations, our individual grassroots, and what kind of resources and tools we could move that forward with, and you know, what people would need to take back home. So that's what we're going to be starting with here. We've got our first group, and our facilitators, Chaz Wieselock and Karen Dellett, are going to go ahead, and you have 7 minutes to report back. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad I've been the timekeeper, so now somebody gets to keep my time. So what we want to presence out of our group that we met in the gazebo in this beautiful day, coming out of the rain, and warmth was brought in, so it was a really good place to be. And our mother was sending us signals with wind blowing paper and taking our voices and mingling them in the middle in sort of a little windstorm. And that's what I'd like to presence where we are in this conference. And what we felt in the gazebo outside was where we are is in the center. We began yesterday, we realized, in this conversation around rights of nature, rights of Mother Earth, and where we are in Indian country, where we are together within our nations, where we are globally. And where are we in our allied, indigenous allies and in their communities? And yesterday it was sort of idyllic. Today we came and there's a little storm in our gazebo. And we didn't feel it was us and them. However, we did feel their emotions are strong on both sides. And there's no question that we believe in our responsibility, our duty, our obligation to our mother, to the winged ones, to the four-legged, to our swimmy and our crawly and our water and our air, and to our way of being with everything that is held in our mother. So we agreed, and we had that consensus of agreement, of deep, heartfelt, heart-wrenching responsibility, obligation. The confusion came, and there's still confusion, and I think in the middle day, that's a great place to be. One of my teachers in my road is Leroy Littlebear, who's Blackfoot and Blood Reserve up in Canada, would say, chaos theory, it's good to have chaos in the middle. When you throw a string up, it could be straight in front of you. And you throw it up in the air and it comes down all tangled. Sometimes it doesn't come down just like you threw it up. But then you can take it and you can undo it, and it becomes more understandable. So today we are in that entanglement in our group. But we also know that we can untangle. That's our responsibility, is to take this back into our communities and to have this conversation. However, we're not quite sure how to have the conversation. So whether in your community it's rights of nature, whether in our communities it's rights of Mother Earth, we're looking at entire ecosystems, plural, not one over the other, but they're all together. They're all connected. So we know that that third day coming out of the middle will find a stronger path going forward together. No matter where you're from, no matter what your origins are, we realize that we all are connected. So that's part of it, and Chaz is going to add.
Just briefly, great American philosopher Yogi Berra once said, we're similar in many different ways. I think we're in the middle of some of that. We're trying to figure out what those similarities are and what some of those differences are. And in the process of that, we seem to be on a path of discovery. I know if any of you have been in AA, don't raise your hands. But in AA, there's steps to recovery. And we're trying to recover something. It's there yet. I know some of the elders talked about it. It's here. Don't worry, but don't worry too much. It's here. The receptivity we need to that is the awakening, being conscious, or something happening, something big. Some cultures say December 21st, 2012 is going to be big. Others say it's every day, that morning when you wake up. That's big. Your own awakening. You look in the mirror, you see something. So I think what we've understood in our discussions, and there's a lot of healing involved with that. Healing within oneself, healing within different groups. And we recognize, I believe, within our conversations, we're two minorities of thinkers. And part of our issue is with the majority of our own group. And so we have work to do on that level. And then we have work to do working with each other, two minorities working together. It's not always an easy task. So I think we're in the middle of much of that discovery, trying to gain some skills and have the confidence in our awareness and our awakening to be honest with each other about what some of the issues are, but also some of the opportunities. Because they're so tightly linked, sometimes they get confused and they get in front of one another. And sometimes you don't see something because you're only seeing this side of it. You're not seeing the other side of it. I think part of it was a discovery. And as mentioned, we have some limited time here to do that, so we're trying to expedite the process. And maybe we need to slow down a little bit in that. Some of it's a growth. Some of it does take time. Unfortunately, that's also one of the issues is how much time do we have to do this? And the environment, as you all know, tells us when it's time. Tells us when we're wasting time, and tells us when when we're foolish, how we spend our time. So I think what we kind of came to, a conclusion, awareness about is we're in the midst of a process, and the process will give us that direction. And I was told to stop.
And we all agreed that now is the time.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yep. Very good. Thank you.
Just a word of advice for the other report outs. In this report, it was kind of like guarded report back. Good report back, but I, not being a member of that, don't know what the confusion, what the issues were, just that there's work to be done. So I think the other groups, please be more specific. So on what are those issues? We don't know. I don't know what those issues are, and it's not helpful for me, probably others. So just a word of advice. Thank you.
I'm really curious. I'm wondering what was going on out in that gazebo out there. So it sounded like there were some intense conversations. So this is good. We're going to move through it. Just on a personal note, when he said expedite the process, I was like, oh. Because at home, Ken Salazar was just at Fort Berthold talking about expediting the process for oil development. I was like, no, this is stupid. Slow it down. Hydraulic fracturing is stupid. It really is, and I had to get that out. So, express myself, I will. Don't get me started. All right, group number two. Group number two, come on down to the podium here. Did you want to skip group number two? That was the one that I had to skip, sorry. Group number three. Huh? Apparently group number 4 wants to go next, so let's bring down group number 4. Jahan Giran, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to introduce yourself, okay? And they're going to explain in detail within 5 to 7 minutes of what happened within group number 4.
Okay, I came in late, and I didn't talk during the discussion, so they asked me to present. My name is Adam Yuchi Creek from Tulsa. Yeah. So Yaha, yeah. And Dan are related down the line somewhere. Okay, so we asked, what would this campaign look in your community? And the responses were intergenerational. That's definitely a big issue. I think there's a disconnect between the elders and the youth within the communities. There's, a lot of issues that we're trying to get to, but there's not a common ground between the youth and the elders. Include language and concepts into tribal constitutions. We talked about how in our communities there's the tribes aren't as active on these issues. A lot of these things are really grassroots. Black Mesas, they have to get their money from grants. Muskogee Food Sovereignty, they have to get their money from grants. There's just not a lot of tribal involvement in these issues. And so hopefully we can get those into the constitutions and make it more legitimate for our tribes. And in that, we can keep out the extractive industries, create internal government systems. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Changes in leadership. Hopefully these changes will coincide with changes in leadership and lawmakers. I just know for my tribe, we have, just recently a new elected chief, and even the past chiefs, they haven't really considered or really made an effort to impact 5 minutes. Kind of the things that are really important to, why we're here. We're community-based programs, we're, culturally based programs, but they're not the ones that are elected into office. So to mobilize leaders and to put leaders in place so that they do take that into consideration when they get into office. Next page. Yeah. Okay, is there a current campaign or work already being done at home in which this campaign could be a part of? We talked about different examples, uranium mining in the Grand Canyon, San Francisco Peaks, revitalizing ecosystems like the Colorado River and the local wetlands, like the one here in Haskell, tar sands, Black Mesa coal, working with non-indigenous allies to make this happen. Okay, we wanted to mention that the Serayaku, they were working with the Intertribal Court, Inter-American Continental Court, and they're going to be having a case they're taking the case to their community. So I guess the judges and everyone that's involved in deciding is going to visit the community and to see the devastation that these corporations are having on the environment. And so on April 21st, this is going to be happening, and they're going to try to broadcast it online. So they have a website, www.sarayaku.org, SARAYAKU.org. And they're going to give updates and let people know how things, and they want everyone here to kind of participate and have, try to do their best to be involved with what's going on, because, they were saying that the corporations there in South America are saying, oh, look at the tribes in North America. Look at the, they're happy with this development. They're happy with the extractions of natural resources. So we need to be doing the same thing here in South America. So, they need, our voices to be heard as well, and for us to have a presence in what's going on down there, because, the campaign is to show that, this is going to be good for tribal communities when it's really not. Next one. Okay, what would you need to further this discussion at home? We need educational tools, curriculum, guidebook, case studies that highlight local and global struggles. But they were talking about a website, having a website that has all this information. And next one. also to record, make audio and video recordings, so that for documentation purposes. And since I didn't get to talk during the session, I'm going to make my comments within 2 minutes. And they cut me off. Okay. But I think one tool that every community can use, and I think has been used over and over again, for example, Tea Party, propaganda, is definitely an easy tool that each community can use to kind of get their message heard, even if it's not true, as long as it's kind of catchy and can connect to a base, can connect to a larger group of people that, agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of people agree with what we're doing. It's just that it hasn't resonated, with the group because the message is not out there. And so, maybe a simple, we call it propaganda, but it's very effective. It has been effective. Obama uses the word change and hope. He used that very effectively, even though we haven't, maybe seen as much change as we'd like. And for the Tea Party, Obama wasn't born in the U.S. He's got a fake birth certificate. He wants socialism, all those different type of things. And you can see how the Tea Party has kind of taken off, and, people still believe it. People in different communities still, have attached themselves to those ideas. And so if you can use propaganda within your own community and your own work, and try to get people to attach to that, you'd be very effective. Thank you.
Wait, don't applause. I'm going to add one thing that Adam missed that I thought was really important. It's that we had, just people talking about our experiences and trying to work in different communities or tribal governments or whatever, and there being a big challenge to answer some of the questions is that, even people who are traditional and who practice traditional things sometimes are not politically engaged and don't believe in speaking up. So there's some sort of decolonization strategies as well that we feel need to be going right alongside the Rights of Mother Earth campaign. So that's one last piece. Thank you. Applause.
Thank you very much. Group 2, are you ready now? Three. Group 3, come on over. And while we're waiting, I said hydraulic fracturing is stupid. I didn't quite capture that. It's insane. It's really wrong, and it makes no sense. So while we're waiting for these guys to get up here, I wanted to say that. And introduce yourselves, your name and where you're from, so that we can, World Wide Web knows who you are.
Hi, my name is Marshall, and I'm from Arizona, coming from the Navajo or Diné tribe. Our group was pretty interesting, we threw out some, we were told we're the hippest group, so just so you know. We threw a couple of ideas out there. One of them was Wildcat, and he asked the question, how does internalized oppression play out in our communities and create discussions? The other idea was talk about the presentation and how it affected us and how we felt about it. And the other was resources we acquire to take back and apply in our communities, which is generally what was stated before we went on a breakout session. Well, we pretty much went one person at a time, our feelings or thoughts on, the earlier morning presentations. And I think we had a more emotional reaction because our group had a pretty good even amount of indigenous people and non-indigenous people, or native and non-native. And a couple of ladies felt like they didn't really connect to the discussions, and it kind of led to later on discussions, what I'll let you know more about at that time. But also, well, my take was on it is that some ideas that I brought up in the past that I wanted to implement, but I was a little bit too lazy, or I just took on a different project, such as defining the origins of the language used in legal documentations, which was very interesting and most interesting to me because that's a tool I'll use, and using language in the context of policy making, I think that is really important. At the same time, using that type of mind frame and try to interpret, put yourselves in their shoes and use their shoes to walk in when you're arguing your point, kind of thing. And Lindsay from New York said that she's one of the people that felt like she wasn't connected, and Kristen here too, but she'll tell you more about it. Robin felt like she was connected and felt like it was very engaging, and she just reminded us not to get spiritually lost in the legal aspect of everything and focus on connection and where you stand and decide how you'll make the shift. And I think another thing was that consciousness of deliberately embracing the intentional and the non-intentional people that have the knowledge or don't really have the type of consciousness that some people do have here in this room when you go back to the community. And we all agree that we have to be spiritually grounded and understand the effects of narrations and language and how it can be manipulated. Let's see. We also talked about how our culture is. George from Beach Lake Reservation, he talked about how he was taking some of these ideas back, and he's here on behalf of the youth that he engages with, and he said that he's trying to veer them from chemical dependency. So he's trying to really absorb and fully understand how to apply that. We kind of concluded that we don't have no complete grip of what rights of Mother Earth really means, but we feel it. We know that it's wrong to mistreat it and treat it like a separate entity where it can be, lack of a better word, molested and raped. And a lot of things that bring us to understand things is dreams and visions and such. And I think it's really important to listen to those things. And we're talking about spirituality and finding your spirituality, but I think that we wouldn't be here if we didn't have our spirituality. It either found us or we found it. It goes both ways. You can't run from it. It's going to find you. That's my take on everything. So I think that the stereotypes that we would create based on the color of our skin should not dictate how we're going to apply and perpetuate the rights of Mother Earth.
Well said. My name is Kristen. I'm here originally from San Antonio, south of San Antonio. As far as some of us not feeling as connected earlier, I'm trying to understand how to adapt these tools to a really different kind of community. And I think it's really important to remember how many different types of communities there are in this country, and that we really have to bring people together from across incredibly diverse backgrounds. I brought up, there are people here in this country who are not here because they want to be. There are all kinds of immigrants and refugees, and all of these people have to be included in this conversation. And I think it's really important that people be provided a way to feel at home in this land that we share. And that's the way that we can take responsibility for this land. If you feel like you're not at home and you have no responsibility to this place, then you're not going to protect it. You're going to get what you can out of it and leave.
have anything else to add? I remember she said something about. Also, there was a little insert about the statistics that were acquired by one of the group members is economy versus the environment. Before the environmental crisis, people were asked if they valued the environment, even if it hurt the economy. 70% said yes. Then after the Depression, 40% said yes. So there's still a 40% amount of people that still want to make that change. So I think we should raise that back to 70 and let's get rolling. All right then, that's about it.